let me go get the chat. Can you see the chat? Do you have that screen?
Let's see if I can find it.
For me, it's on
Indeed.
the awesome. Okay. Okay. All right. So we're there's nobody on with us right now, so we can just start chatting about anything, actually, whatever
Great.
you want to. If people come on and they want to say hi, we can start saying welcome in. Is that you? You put it on the floor. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna get up and go grab it. You talk to the ceiling.
I'll be right here.
I told you he just absolutely is not. I don't want to be on the camera. And he's so funny too. So he would be a great person to bring on with me. Okay. Hi, Becky. Welcome in. Okay, water.
Right.
Okay. So as I told you earlier, I have so many things I want to talk about. I want to talk about poltergeists, tulpas. I want to talk about fear, control, shadow beings we create, differences in residual energy and intelligence. I've talked about this quite a bit, actually, but I would like your thoughts on that too.
Absolutely.
Okay. So what do you think is the best, most interesting topic that's going on in your world?
Ooh, I've got a lot. I've always have a bunch of things going on. One thing we talked about before was 5 planets of Sagittarius. It keeps me going on so many different things.
So, do you want to talk a little bit about your history and how you got into this world?
Sure. I was literally born into the paranormal. And what I mean by literally is I grew up going to a spiritualist church, which is just like your typical Protestant church. But the services conclude with transmediumship. 1 to 3 transmediums come up and they do some channeling work. Every Saturday night, we met in the church basement where they did seance. Plus, I lived in a haunted house. It was one of those kind of things where you'd be watching TV. Back in the days, when TVs had a dial and
Oh, God, yeah. We were the remote controls for our parents.
That's exactly it. When I would try to talk to my parents and my dad, I say, hey, can we get a TV with a remote? He's like, why? We got one. I'm like, where? You. Go change the channel.
Yeah, literally.
But we'd be literally watching TV and watch the dial physically change. Radios turning on in the middle of the night. My mom was a collector of music boxes, and it's understandable if one goes off every now and then, but sometimes they would all go off. You'd hear footsteps up and down the hallway, a toilet flush on the floor that you weren't on. It was pretty active. And the reason why I say literally born into the paranormal is my mom's doctor, when she was pregnant with me, is Dr. Robert Bradley. And
I've got to research him.
Oh, yeah. He's fascinating stuff. He would hold seances in his house pretty regularly. He wrote a book with his wife about their paranormal experiences, and plus some of his experiences, and he served as an advisor for a movie from, I believe it was in the 70s, called The Changeling with George C. Scott.
Yeah.
And I attended a lecture where he talked about his experiences that made it into that movie, and when he was serving as a consultant on set about some of the things that were going on. So,
wow.
like I said, literally born into this. I grew up with it. I was always around it. I had whispers, what I call my guides, have been with me since I was a child. And I've always known about that. And so to me, the paranormal is a completely normal part of the world. Supernatural is completely a natural phenomenon. And sometimes it makes me scratch my head when people aren't experiencing. I have people say, I've never had a paranormal experience. And that's because they're basing it off of the movies and TV shows that they see, and they're expecting something that the paranormal isn't.
The big bonk on the head, or being attacked psychically, or, the things that all those paranormal shows usually show. Instead of debunking, I think sometimes they try to cause more fear because fear sells.
Exactly. I mean, they're fun. My wife and I like to watch these movies. I watched them my whole life. They scared the heck out of me as a kid, which was led to some interesting things because, I saw The Exorcist when I was 7 years old. It
Oh,
was believable. And I would watch Night Gallery and Twilight Zone and all sorts of these things about the bad paranormal experiences. And I'm like, I'm living in a haunted house. I'm going to these seances. And so I'm trying to reconcile what I'm seeing on TV as very convincing stories with what I'm really experiencing. And it was so challenging as a kid to figure those things out.
I'm wondering how you reconcile what happened when you were little with what you know now. So the things turning on and off by themselves, the haunted house. What do you think about it now, looking back?
Mhm.
Because you do a lot of debunking, but I feel like you do. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, it's important to get the mundane aspects covered first. Somebody
Yeah.
tells me their light's flickering on and off. Great. What did the electrician say? If they're having some
Yeah.
sort of internal issues, have you seen a doctor? Have you gotten a mental health evaluation? We cover the mundanes first. And then when those turn out to not be anything, then I'm like, okay, let's dig a little deeper and see what's going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, what we were able to figure out is that area had been farmland for a long time before it turned into suburban development. And
Right.
so we think the footsteps are probably like a farmer or some sort of a farmhand walking up and down the stairs. There were definitely nature spirits galore, different kinds of spirits. And, they
Ooh,
would be curious, like, what's a toilet? What's that do? Ooh, very cool. And these little buggers, house spirits and nature spirits like shiny, trinkety things. So they would have gone over to the music box and were like, ooh, yeah, let's have some fun and play with this. So it was a lot of curiosity and playfulness. I'm aware of that now, but as
yes.
a kid, it was a little startling. It scared the heck out of my sister to the point where she doesn't want anything to do with this stuff.
Right.
And it scared me at first, but then I always had the whispers trying to explain to me what's going on, trying to teach me how to deal with it and how to prep for it. And
Right.
so as an adult, I can look back and say, yeah, it was curiosity and playfulness. But as a kid, I was like, what is this?
Do you think you were a conduit for it?
I do think that one of the things I've noticed about doing this work for years and years and years, especially when it comes to lost souls, people who haven't crossed over for myriad of reasons, when they are trying to interact with people they know, loved ones, friends, they're not tuned in, they're not aware. And so they're literally invisible and unheard, unseen. And then along comes somebody that's like, oh, hey, what are you doing? They're like, whoa. You, and they're finally somebody can hear them and pay attention to them.
Yeah.
So now they're like,
Yeah.
oh, and I see that with so many clients when their abilities come back online. Like, why am I getting bugged? I'm like, because you say they're looking for attention, they're looking for help, some
Yeah.
guidance, and you're the only person they know that can talk to them.
Yeah. I love. So do you? Which is really funny because now I have all these other questions. I was like, oh, talk about gargoyles. Oh, talk about this. Talk about this. So I have literally seen gargoyles when I was probably midway into my development. So I had been doing this work for probably 5 years at the time, 10 years, 6 years at the time. And I was driving, I live in the country, driving past an orchard, had my horse trailer, and I literally saw a gargoyle on an orchard. And I went, what the fuck is going on? Any thoughts on that?
Not sure. I've seen all sorts of things. There are so many things out there that I haven't encountered yet, which is what's so fascinating and fun about it. But I know throughout history, gargoyles have always been protective spirits. They've
Yes.
always been watchers, and they keep
Yes.
away the negativity. But they can look a little bit scary. They look a little bit frightening, and I like that. I kind of like that sort of test for us. Can we get through the scary image to the authentic piece that's there?
Yeah. Yeah. That's when I reached out to you. That was one of the things I touched on a little bit is um, to some, you might have this appearance of gruff but you seem like the sweetest, kindest, let's debunk this crap kind of a person to me.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, so I like talking about when you said that there are so many things that we can't see. I have heard people lecture and say, if we trained our eyes, we could see all these things. And I went to a stage where I felt like I want to do that. I want to see what's around me. But then I kind of went like, I can't unsee that. So maybe I just will stay here in my little human realm for a while.
Absolutely. I think that's why shadow work with paranormal work and spiritual development is critical, because a lot of people grew up with a lot of negative stories, a lot of the fear-based narratives
Yeah.
about these things. And like you said, once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's there. It's like it's verified proof. You can't
Yeah.
invalidate it. It's there. Now, do I really want to step into that world? And so we have to learn to address those fears. We have to learn to address those concerns and those things that shut down our natural abilities. Because I believe everybody on this planet has natural paranormal abilities. They were
Dude.
born with it.
Yeah.
And it's just we haven't used them as kids, and we adapt to the environment we're in. And mom and dad and everyone else will either not use it or tell us things that's not good about it. So we shut it down
Yeah.
until one time it starts to awaken and we open up our mind. And we're like, what is this? I want to explore that. And then we
Yeah.
do our shadow work, we get through that, and then we're like, oh wow, there it is.
Yeah.
Look at all that stuff.
Yes. You had created a post on your Facebook page and you were talking about mediumship, and I feel like this was you that said this, but touching on how if you're going to be a medium or if you're doing this work, we have to heal ourselves first. And that was a damn right, because too many people are saying things that are causing so much fear. I hope that I haven't done that to anybody, but I have had so many people come to me that like this medium told me I can't talk to my dead son anymore because he I'm holding on to him too tight. This medium told me my loved one who died from suicide is in limbo and stuck, and I have to pray for him and pay them thousands of dollars to help him move on.
Yeah,
So, so that is the kind of thing we absolutely need to do some inner work before we do this with other people.
absolutely. And I think when it comes to a lot of mediums and channelers, part of their inner work that needs to be done, I'm going to sound a little judgmental here, but that's okay,
It's
is they like
okay.
that guru effect. They like to be the one that
Yeah.
has the superpower that nobody else has.
Ego.
That, yeah, and that never sat well with me. I mean, sort of a subversive goal in my work and teaching people and doing my courses and classes and the one-on-one working is my goal is to be unnecessary. I
Yeah.
want to
I
teach
always
people how to
joke.
do this
Yeah.
themselves.
I
Yeah.
always joke, like, I don't want to put me out of a job, but you really don't need me. It's like, shit.
No, I want people to do this themselves because they have this natural ability. When I do shadow work, I'm teaching the skills of shadow work so they can use that and modify it and carry it forward because it's something we're going to do the rest of our life anyway. So why not just
Yes.
use the skills? So
Yes.
I consider myself a teacher rather than like the guru or the know-it-all, and I'm learning stuff all the time. I've got a Tuesday class that I teach regularly, and I'm learning new stuff all the time from the students I'm teaching in that class. And
Isn't that fun?
I just love it because there's so much to learn, and I don't know it all.
Yeah. I think by the time you start to say you know it all, then you're really screwed because I mean, there's so much. I say that in horsemanship too. I think I told you earlier, my background is I thought I was going to be a clinician. And I've had people like, I know how to ride. Basically, whenever I hear that, I'm always like, you know how to sit on it. Do you know how to ride? So, but yeah, there's so much more that's involved. And I mean, it's like let's say a macabre. It's like an entangled web. There are so many pieces or so many moving pieces. It's just like if you did know it all, let's be best friends. You can't help it.
And how boring it would be to know it all because you have nothing to learn. There's nothing surprising. I mean, even to this day, if I see an apparition that's startling to me, I'm like, wow, what was that? I'm like, oh, and I learn
Yes.
new things all the time.
Have you ever had one jump at you?
Yeah, but I was really sick. Was in bed with like a really bad flu. I was in bed for days, and there was some bugger showed up on the wall, and it did that jump out at me thing, and I'm like, nope. So I was able to deal with that and get rid of that and make sure it didn't
Yeah.
bother me at all.
I had a human soul do that. I was at a restaurant, a local restaurant, and it was out in the country. She was in the corner, and I saw her, and I acknowledged her. And as I'm eating, she went from being in the corner to being next to my table, and it startled me. And my husband, he knew. He was like, "Don't tell me!" And he just looks down and starts shoveling food in his face. But um, called her a jumper. She's a jumper.
Oh yeah, that kind of thing definitely happens. It's one of those things where notice somebody over there and like, oh hey, you noticed
Right?
me. You're like,
Yeah.
yeah, how can I help?
Yeah. And you're trying to not be weird in the restaurant. Like, shit. I suspect by now people just know I'm the weird one. But okay. We do have some people asking some questions. Do you have any other pieces you want to share? Anything that's come up that you're like, oh, I want people to know this?
Yeah. I've got like in my free ebook, I've got 10 rules of paranormal interaction. And some of the pieces that I really always like to emphasize is similarities attract and perpetuate. Whatever your mind state is, whatever your emotional state is what you're going to draw to you, which is why you see so many people on TikTok having a bad time with a Ouija board because they're busy scaring each other. And of course, they're going to
Yeah.
have a scary time.
Yeah.
But if you're able to just kind of relax, connect to the sacred, be in a higher mindset, nothing could go wrong. And another one of my rules is have fun with this.
Where is that? And I'll share a link.
Oh, yeah. If you go to my website, kaedrich.com.
Okay, hold on. Let me go pull that up. Kaedrich.
.com. Yep.
.com.
Yeah. And so have fun with that because a lot of times we block it when we're being somber, morose, or we're expecting, especially expectation. Though I need to talk to grandma. She's got to come and tell me about her secret recipe. But maybe grandpa or an aunt shows up like, no, 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 I'm not talking to you. Or we're expecting a message in a certain way. So if you play with it and you're treating it like fun, plus on the other side, they're having a lot of fun. It's almost like a little bit of a party atmosphere over there. They're having a good time. And so if they come over here and we're like, ooh, they're gonna be like, "What's wrong with you? I don't want to deal with this." But if you're playing with it and you're having fun, they're gonna be more likely to interact with you. Plus, if there's a potential for a negative entity or negative energies around, if you're having fun and you're playing with it, it's gonna chase those things off.
Especially if you can keep that, I call it vibration, keep your vibration high enough and that you're not allowing those kinds of things. When I do mediumistic readings, I always say all that comes near me comes through the light. That's for me to set my own disclaimer that I'm not, y'all don't get to come into my energy today, kind of a thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
One of my favorite rules is the more you experience the paranormal, the safer it gets. And that almost seems counterintuitive because people say, well, the more experiences you have, you're going to get something bad. Well, no, because the more you're experiencing the paranormal, you start to see it for what it really is, how it really works, and what your connection really is. And it starts to dispel those fear based narratives that could really
yes.
contaminate the experience. And when you dispel those things, you're like, oh, no wonder they can't make a movie out of this. This is kind of boring.
when and I can't agree with that statement more because when I first started, I was terrified. I think I told you this morning I spent 2 years with a therapist. I was losing my shit. Um, and the more, and I've done thousands of readings at this point, and I've never had anything try to eat me yet. And it's always been beautiful messages. I mean, I've had some that, I've had some pedophiles and things like that come through. But the cool part about that is they don't come through because they need healed. They come through because you need healed. And
Yeah.
I know, but ain't nobody want to talk to them.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah, there is still a lot of healing going on. That's why shadow
Yeah.
work is so important because when we start to make the transition into the afterlife, one of the first things we're doing is clearing away the stuff that's not ours, letting go of all of that negative stuff that we've been accumulating throughout our lifetime. And so if you can do it while you're alive, which you can, why not do it? That way when you get to the other side, you're ready to go. There's
Yeah. You've
a lot
cleared
less
it
processing to do.
100%. So, what I have been shown when we leave our physical body and the cord becomes detached, that when people have had NDEs and they say, oh, I saw hell, my understanding from my guides is that's more of your subconscious. You're moving through your own programming and your own belief system.
Yep, exactly. There was a time many years ago when my guides showed me different places of the afterlife. One of them was like this field of people just kind of staring off or their eyes closed. They were tethered in place so they couldn't wander off. And there were other people walking around them, hanging out with them. And I'm like, what is this? And they told me this is what people call hell. It's not a place
Oh,
of torment, it's not a place of torture. It's these people crossed over thinking they were bad people, thinking that they were deserving of this sort of torment. And so they put themselves into their own illusion of that place of torment. But there are these occasional moments where they start to wake up and they go, do I really have to be there? And one of those people walking around come over and like, no, you don't. What do you think there could be? Then they slip back in for a while. But those moments they pop up, there's somebody to encourage them. And when they're ready to come out of that, they're ready to start that healing process. So there is no eternal damnation. There is no eternal punishment other than what we put on ourselves.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for validating that. So I put this question on the screen because we just literally said this. I wish I had abilities you do. Must be incredible. You do.
You do.
You do. You have access to everything that we have access to. They're called clairs.
Yep.
Yeah, you absolutely do. It's just practicing using them. One thing I know is that they can come online at different times for different people, especially if you've pushed them down. And a lot of people have done some pushing.
Yeah, and that's nobody's fault. We grew up in cultures and societies and families that really forced us to repress those and push them down. And they will always come online. And
Yeah.
I like to refer to Maslow's hierarchy of needs when they come back online. You know, people are financially set, they've got a home, they've got a family, they've got a place in community. Now they can relax and they can stop stressing so much on how to survive. And now their higher abilities start coming back online and they start to wonder and they start to connect. And then a guide pops in and says, Poke, look what you
Yeah.
do. What do I do with this? What is this? So
Scares
they're
the
not
shit out of you.
we were born with them. It just takes a little bit of training, a little bit of practice, and they come back.
Yes. So use them is the thing, is use them. Practice with friends. Like, hey, let's practice psychometry. Let's practice reading objects. Let's practice reading each other.
Absolutely.
Do you have any suggestions for how people can practice?
Yeah, definitely.
Is that in your
What I like to do is I will walk people through a long process of this, but we'll kind of make it shorter. Just like imagine something visual in your mind. Like you can even hold something in your hand and then close your eyes and then imagine that. And that helps you better understand how your brain processes visual information, even if you can't see it. And that's important to know. Not everybody can see, not everybody can visualize, but you can have an understanding of what something looks like. You can still describe it. You can still have an impression in your mind of what something looks like. And so get familiar with how you process visual information. And once you do that, clear your mind, ask for a guide to give you some visual information. Could be a color, shape, a person, location, anything. Again, just be open to anything that comes in and then notice how it makes you feel and explore that feeling and realize that there's information in that feeling. There's a message there and just let it come through as if you're like talking to yourself about what that is. And the more you practice that, this is the part that I can't teach. The more you practice that, you get a click moment where it's just like, oh, that's what it was. That's what it's like. I can teach you the process to get there, but you have to do the work. And then you have that click moment. And you're like, I get it now. That's what that's like.
Yeah. And I think that's an ongoing thing because I think, well, obviously awakening is in stages, at least for me.
Oh, yeah.
And I think obviously our learning comes in those stages too. I'm still picking up things that are like, oh shit, I should have, like, I get new signs and symbols all of the time. And I'm like, damn, I wish I would have known that 10 years ago when I told this person this. So, but we're always opening and waking up and learning more and taking on more.
Absolutely.
Here is, she's like, I guess I missed that part. It's okay.
No worries.
I just wanted to talk about it because, okay. So Shannon says, as a nurse, I love Maslow.
Oh, yeah. Maslow's got a lot of really good information about self-development and self-actualization.
So, yeah, I'm going through a lot of that right now. A lot of starting to understand myself on a different level. Maybe it's because I'm in my mid-50s. I don't know.
That makes sense. Actually, it's like we said, you got to build the rest of the pyramid. Once you've got that pyramid built, you can start working on self-actualization. And that's where a lot of these realizations come to mind.
Yeah. Yeah. This one made me giggle, so I'm going to throw this up on the screen. I don't want to see them. I let them know how I feel them as sufficient. That's something I think maybe you can touch on this too, that scares people because our bodies can sense what we can't see. I'm constantly getting the, especially at night. I notice I'm getting a lot of zaps on my crown chakra, or I'm getting a lot of zaps. And I'm like, well, I feel like my guides are working overtime. Maybe I'm not paying attention during the day as much as I need to. Um, but if you could talk about that a little bit.
Absolutely. When we receive information from spirit, no matter what type of spirit is, no matter where it's at, it's nonlinear information that has zero context to it. Meaning our brain, our concrete thinking, rational, linear brain cannot process that information whatsoever until we pass it through an interpretation filter and we explore it, and then we can put it into terms, which is why you see channelers and other sort of mediums going, what about this? What's this? Because they're trying to put context to the clues that they've got.
Yeah.
And a big part of that is the somatic response. The
Dude.
body will know before you know, before you're getting information. So pay attention to that. Little zaps on the head. Sometimes maybe you'll feel something coming in, maybe a sense of lightness or a sense of heaviness. Maybe, I don't know, the handle itch. You'll get something. So start to notice, how does your body react when you receive information? And then you can start to learn to discern that. Sometimes if you're talking to something that may be a tricksy person, not spirit, not anything other than people, you might feel a heavy weightedness. You might feel a pit in your gut. Notice that feeling. Or you feel lighter. You'll feel airy. You'll feel like a sense of, I don't know, a higher vibe to it. Pay attention to that. Notice what the body's doing. Am I suddenly feeling more comfortable and relaxed? What's going on here? Pay attention to the somatic cues, and they'll tell you not only that something's communicating with you, but what type of communication you're receiving.
Yeah. And those are coming online in a big way for a lot of us, I believe. I know my somatic cues, I've always felt for people, like when spirit comes through, if I feel like a bunk on the head, I know that they're not trying to jump on my head. I know that that's how they died. Or if I can't breathe, or if I have, so a lot of, and again, back to the ghost shows that are on TV, they're feeling this stuff and saying, oh my God, they're trying to hurt me. I'm like, what if that's how they died? And you're just walking into their essence.
Yeah, that's clairtangency. That's happened quite a bit where, like, I remember participating in a seance, and this lady wanted to reconnect with her son that died, and all of a sudden I'm like feeling this choking sensation, and it's kind of oily, and I'm like, I'm having a hard time breathing. I'm getting this sense of feeling of oil with it. And then she described how he died and who he was, and I'm like, and that's all it was. It was just a clairtangency cue coming in from that spirit saying, this is how I died. This is what I experienced.
Yeah. How cool is it once you know that? And again, debunking fear, just grabbing my list because there were some other things I wanted to talk about, wanted to make sure. Because one of the things was the difference between residual energy and intelligent. I've done clearings on people's property, and it was from the 1800s, and I could feel somebody being attacked in this old cabin that was like dilapidated. Homeless people had started to take over it, and I could feel this spot where there was it was a sequence that kept playing back and forth and back and forth. And when people would hit that area, they would think something bad was going to happen. Just walking through it, you would just be inundated with this fear.
Absolutely. That happens for a couple of reasons. One is certain materials, certain stones, especially if they're heavy in quartz, it seems to be, will retain energetic signatures, and then they will play them back just like a magnetic tape recorder. You record the information and then it plays it back. And our subtle senses pick up on that. Our clairsentience, our clairempathy pick up on that, and we don't know how to interpret it. Another thing that happens in traumatic situations is what I call a revenant. Is anytime we're in a traumatic moment, even like a fender bender, for example. Think about this, like you get into a small fender bender, even for a couple of hours after, if you're thinking about it, you'll still have a visceral response. You'll be like, and that's because a little part of your soul, a revenant, is reliving that moment over and over, and it's got a tendril connecting to you, so you're feeling that emotion. Now, death is the most traumatic thing a lot of people experience, especially
Yeah.
if it's under violent circumstances.
Yes.
And that part of the soul will fragment off so the rest of the soul can go through the healing process. And so while that's fragment of the soul is there reliving that moment over and over because it's literally stuck in time. And then when we come into that situation, we'll see maybe the apparition reliving the event. We'll definitely feel it. We'll definitely experience that. And the way that you can tell is the spirits, if it is like a residual energy, there's no information, there's just emotion. If it's a revenant, there's a lot of emotion, but not much communication going on. They
Right.
only know that moment because that's literally the entirety of its existence is that moment. They can't talk about anything else. Whereas something more intelligent, like a lost soul that could be lost because of traumatic
Yeah.
circumstances, you can actually have a full-on conversation with it. It will talk with you and it will share its emotion with you. And you'll feel that fear, you'll feel that sadness or whatever, but it can actually communicate. So you can actually build that discernment through those processes.
Yeah. How do you feel about assisting souls in crossing into the light?
Depends. Like if it's a revenant, I won't do it because I don't know if that soul on the other side is ready to receive that back. And we don't know if it wants to lose that part of itself. Maybe it wants to reclaim it someday. So I will leave a revenant alone. But lost souls happen all the time.
Yeah.
My wife and I, we do regular seances, maybe a couple times a year or more. And they're about 2 hours long. And most of the time, it's not us doing the work, it's us training people how to do the work. Invariably, a lost soul shows up, like, hey, I got so and so here. They're acting like this, they're this. Nobody knows who they are. I'm like, what? Okay. Check in with the guides. What's happening? And the guides are like, yeah, we brought you another one. I'm like, what? And so they're bringing in a lost soul.
You do it.
Yeah, exactly. So that as part of the seance, we're teaching people how to do the crossing over work so that
Very
soul can
good.
find its way back over so they can get rid of it. A lot of times souls don't want to cross over because of fear of hell. They're like, I'm not going over there.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't know they died because circumstances and they just need that gentle guidance. There's no exorcism, there's no banishing that actually makes things worse. But you have a compassionate conversation, you find out who they are, what they're doing.
Yeah.
For example, my wife and I just recently did a clearing at a local business here, and it was two kids that died at a very young age. Obviously, they liked the place they were in, they loved the energy there, they loved the people, but it was scaring some people, it was freaking some people out. So they asked for us to do some work,
Yeah.
and the little girl, didn't respond to me very well because she knew I was there to get rid of her. But my wife came in, that motherly, compassionate figure. She had a great connection. She talked with them. We were able to connect with the old family, bring the old family in. And the kids are like, well, we want to hang around a little bit longer, say goodbye to something here, like, because that place also had a lot of land spirits, a lot of other things going on. And they said,
Right.
I want to say goodbye to our friends. And that was it. Just a simple conversation.
Oh, yeah. I always invite their loved ones to come out from the light to
Yes.
kind of help them to show them. So I will say, hey, invite loved ones in. Can you help with this transition? I've never thought about the irreverent, so I'll be double thinking that for a while. but I don't know that I've had that dealing yet. So thank you for bringing that
Absolutely.
to my yeah. See, always learning, always learning. Okay. So, all right. Does anybody have any questions about that before we move?
Yeah, I see that question. Do lost souls choose to be lost or does it happen by accident? Most of the time it happens by accident, but sometimes they choose. They want to hang out with family. They don't want to lose their home or they're attached to something. And so they're like, no, I want to hang out. But they don't realize they could actually help their family better if they cross over, get the healing, get the education, and then they come back and they can be in a much better circumstance. They're just stuck to their linear daily life thinking that's what they need to be in order to help their family out or loved ones. So sometimes they choose to hang out.
Yeah, yeah. I had a group of friends. We rented a house several years ago, and there was a little bedroom in the hallway. It was I should say, there was a little bed in the hallway for extra guests. and there was a little girl with a bunny rabbit, a little girl with a bunny rabbit sitting on the bed. And she was there all weekend. And before we left, I sat down with her. And so she had died in a very horrific way at the hands of somebody. And she was attached to the little bunny rabbit on the bed. There was a little bed that looked like it had little bunny rabbits on it. And so it was a place where she felt safe. And I thought, I've lost my shit. I'm talking to somebody that's not here. So, again, that was in the beginning stage, but it was an experience that I felt I felt it viscerally. I could feel it in my body, kind of a thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Pay attention to the somatic clues, the emotions coming in. And you know, this is kind of making me think. This is my opinion. I don't have any direct experience, so this is my opinion. But Annabella the doll.
Oh,
What I think happened in that circumstance is the woman that the spirit came to was a nurse, very compassionate, very caregiver. I think it was a lost soul of a little girl. Came in and that nurse was sensitive and aware. And that girl is saying, "Hey, can I have some help? Oh, I like that doll over there." And so the nurse associated the spirit with the doll. And this is where I'm going to get a little on my soapbox here.
do it.
That's when Ed and Lorraine Warren came in. And remember, Ed Warren was a demonologist with the Catholic Church. So to these people, every paranormal experience was a demon trying to hurt you. And so they turned this whole situation into a demonic infestation of this doll. And they blamed the doll for everything, this demon in the doll. And of course, they took the doll, it's on display. And
Yeah.
this is where we as a collective, we created the Annabelle egregore. And an egregore is like a collective belief about what an entity is, what its name is, its form, its function. And we all put our collective energy in that belief. And now there is an egregore of Annabelle living in that doll. Meanwhile, it was just a lost little kid needing some help and a compassionate woman that probably could have helped if she knew what was going on.
Yeah. I wholeheartedly. I have seen what I think happens a lot of times is if you think that house is haunted and then you start telling everybody and people start driving by and saying that house is haunted or that's bad, that it's like a plant. You can give it love or you can kill it by your words. And I think that we put that energy, we project it onto things.
Absolutely. That's what happened to Penhurst. Penhurst definitely was a place full of tragedy. Awful things happened there, and there are definitely lots of revenants going on there.
Yeah.
But because people brought that fear based narrative into what was going on, and it's got to be so popular, our collective belief created the big nasty egregore that lives there now.
Yeah. Do you think that can be released if people start sending love or shedding that that's not there anymore? Or do you think it has to be a bigger?
Egregores are tricky to get rid of because we have to change it like a cultural belief
Yeah.
to
Oh,
starve
yeah.
it off. So it will take maybe the demolition of the site and people just being like meh, whatever, and just letting it go, and then that egregore will get starved off. Otherwise,
Ah,
egregores can be very intelligent, they can be very brilliant, and they know what to do to create belief back so that they get fed off of that belief. And egregores aren't bad, not all are bad, some are. This is Penhurst is not a good one, but there is an egregore that we all know about, and we're all wondering if is real. Santa.
yes, I love it. Dude, that's
That
awesome.
on Christmas Eve, there's like Crispness, magic in the air. We're feeling a little more generous, a little bit more happy. We're giving, we're enjoying the moment. And that feeling that's in the air is that egregore of Santa coming to visit everybody around the world on Christmas Eve, if that's their belief system. So yes, Santa is real.
Okay,
Santa's an
that's
egregore.
Santa's an egregore. There's a couple of things here I want to. I've missed some, so I apologize. I want to show this one. That is a great question.
Shadow work. What is shadow work? Shadow work is taking the time and the willingness to look deep inside. The things that you're afraid of hearing about yourself, the things that you're ashamed of, those deeper, darker things, even the gifts and talents that you had to push down. And remember, at one point in your life, every single shadow helped you. None of these shadows are bad. They're not evil. They're helping you. At least they think they are. because they did help. You can think of the shadow as an adapted trait, like something you adapted to, the way you believe, the way you think, the way you feel, the way you behave. You had to adapt to do those things to survive, to function and live in the society and cultures that you're in. And then you grow up, and what helped you is now a hindrance. But you're afraid to look at it because it is uncomfortable. Shadow work is uncomfortable. It can be heavy work. And that's why a lot of people don't like to do it, because it's not comfortable. It's not peace, love, and light, puppy dogs, and rainbows. It's, ugh, really? That's me? And so really, the way I look at shadow work is you're bringing the light of awareness and acceptance to that shadow.
Yeah.
You're accepting, yep, I do feel this way about things. And it's okay, because I learned that. Now that you have accepted it, and now you can embrace that, you can give gratitude to that shadow. Thank you for helping me. But because it is a part of you, it is you, it is
Makes you
something that
authentic.
helps you, you can transmute it into a higher state so that it serves you better now, so that it can function like somebody who may be afraid of talking too much or being vocal about things. They had to quiet their voice to protect themselves. Now that shadow could be more of an inner discernment. What are
Mhm.
the things I can say? What is the best way I can say that? And it sort of becomes this higher level of like, I can speak better now because this, what used to be a shadow, now a golden trait, is helping me speak clearer and share my voice even more.
Yeah, I love that. Okay. Ooh, here's a good one. Now you had a wonderful. I saw a post of yours about this, so I was like, "Oh, let's talk about that one."
Yeah, it goes back to that similarities attract and perpetuate. That sometimes there's a lost soul out there that wants something familiar, wants something that feels comfortable, or sometimes it's angry and upset. I've seen that happen too. And it means we have something inside of us that drew that to us. And so we bring that thing on for whatever reason, and there are multiple reasons, because it serves us at some level, sometimes at a shadow level. It is really weird when that happens, but it happens more often than you think. And it is really feeding off of our energy. It's feeding us thoughts and emotions, things that are not ours. So we're not thinking and feeling about the things that we used to. It's influencing us, and it's not doing it to hurt you. Not always. It's not doing it as an evil thing. It's doing it as a means of what it thinks is surviving.
Right.
And so when it comes to like an attachment, if it's a person, we help them cross over. We do our shadow work to find out why it was there in the first place. If it's some other kind of bugger, a thought form or whatever, we get rid of that. And of course, we go back in and we do the shadow work. See, attachment clearing, just about anybody can do it. That's
Hmm.
not a problem. Mediums, psychics, energy healers, even ourselves, we can clear these things off. And I do recommend a process of energetic hygiene on a daily basis just to clear this stuff out.
Yes.
But you have to ask, why was it there in the first place? And this is the part most people don't do. Why was it there? And so we have to do that shadow work, go into that feeling. What is that feeling? What's this all about? Be honest with yourself, be open, let this thing out. And now we can clear that anchor point, and that thing can't come back, or you can't attract another attachment to
Yes.
any other way. You got to do your inner work as part of this.
Yeah. There's no shortcuts in this, and I have a lot of people. I've had people say, "Here, fix me." I'm, no,
Nope.
that's not my job.
Nope.
I don't want your karma.
When it comes to like paranormal activity in the house or centered around a person, yes, we can shift the energies. Yes, we can do clearing. Absolutely. But it all comes back if you are not doing your inner work.
Yeah. And so we have to be responsible for that. We absolutely do. There was another one here. So in response to that question, she says it feels good. This attachment feels good.
Sometimes that can be the case, and sometimes we may or may not want that. Like I was working with a professional once that was, type A personality, go, 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 go. And all of a sudden they came to me because now they don't want to do their marketing. They can't do any of the work they want to do. They just rather just sit around and do nothing. And it felt good to do nothing. I'm like, okay, let's get to this thing. Let's clear that thing out. We did clear the thing out. All of a sudden they got a rush of anxiety. Like, oh no, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. The rush of anxiety came up, and we had to do the shadow work. And we realized that that thing was there to promote complacency in them, because what they weren't telling themselves is they needed to slow down. They needed to take a
Yeah.
break. They couldn't just keep going, 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 going. And their inner world says, I need something to slow me down and stop me. So they brought this attachment on that felt good. We cleared that attachment. Yes, the anxiety came back. Yes, the like, oh my God. But we cleared that out, and they had to schedule time for downtime. They had to take
Yeah.
purposeful week off of doing nothing. And once they started doing that, there was no need for this. They could go back to productivity. They go back to doing what they needed to do without this thing shutting them down before.
Yeah, that's awesome. So this goes back to, I think it went back to, oh shit, what did it go back to? Help us with this one, Mary, if you're still on here. In the meantime, we'll move on. Oh, I think she's talking about like Santa and how we throw energy at places.
Sometimes, yes, but the earth is a living being herself. She's got energy currents all over the place. We can call them ley lines, sometimes geopathic stress. There are all of these sorts of different currents that run all over the earth. And there are places where they intersect. They almost form like a grid all over the planet. And this is where you'll find ancient sacred sites. The ancient people knew about these things, and they would build their sacred sites on those places. And so some of these places on earth have these vortexes, these energy vortexes, and it will create some of these amazing energetic experiences that we can tap
Mhm.
into. And so that's what could be some of these miracle sites, is just where
Yeah.
those energetic lines crisscross.
Yeah, we absolutely have them. I literally feel like I have one down the road from me because I always get a download of information. Every time I drive through, I'm like, "Ooh," I get all the things. I'm like, well, there's something going on there. Um, there's this one. This one, I think. So, recurring dream about assisting souls crossing over to the other side from a specific house. I've always felt that when people dream of houses, it's usually about their own structure, about what's going on here. What do you think about that?
That's a good question. Dreams are an interesting thing because, weirdly enough, there's actually a direct correlation to spirit communication. Dreams start with like a basic emotion that we're not even consciously aware of. And then the dreams will interpret that with our own symbol dictionary. For you,
Yes.
the house could be like the structure, the internal structure.
Yeah.
Somebody else, that could mean family and living situation. I knew
Yeah.
somebody once that whenever they dreamt of a house, it meant somebody was dying. So,
Oh,
what I would encourage people to do is recognize that everything in your dream is a symbol, even if it's spirit communication, even
mhm.
if whatever it is, it's a symbol that is interpreted by your own imagination. And that's okay. That's how it works. Your own imagination interprets that into a symbol so that your brain can be aware of it. And now I'm going to encourage you to go back and look at those symbols, and what do those symbols mean? What do those symbols feel like? And then deconstruct those symbols, and then you create your own symbol dictionary. Don't go out and buy a book on dream interpretation, because they'll tell
Because you
you
have your own. Yeah.
their symbols mean. Find out what your symbols mean. And like, what does that house mean? What does that specific house mean for you? And notice the emotion connected to that, and that'll tell you more about what that dream is trying to tell you.
Yeah. I do think that we work in our dreams, our dream
Yes,
state. When I do believe we can travel, we can visit, we can do all the things. Um, do you? So I think to answer specifically, is it possible that she's assisting people in crossing over?
absolutely. That could very well be like, this might be the house. I'm just going to make this up. I don't know for sure. But the house might be her interpretation of a specific location where this work is done. And she's doing that kind of work.
Love
So,
that.
yeah, it could definitely be something like that.
Yeah, and she is. I do know her. She's an energy healer, so I know she's got some things. She's got the things going on there.
Awesome.
Okay. Did I get them all? Did I miss any? Uh, oh, she also said here that she learned what an egregore was by watching you on Gaia. I will say, and you've been on Gaia, you've done quite a bit of work in
Mhm.
this. I mean, you've kind of been all over the place. And your Facebook is blowing up. I noticed. I told him this morning that I've been stalking his channel. I wanted to make sure I had good questions for him today. I want to.
Yes. I like to tell people that my name is a key that unlocks so many doors. Just put my name into Google, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and it'll unlock all of these doors, and you learn so much.
That's
Just with
awesome.
my name.
That's awesome. So you're a wealth of knowledge, sir.
Thank you.
Yes. So, oh, I want to ask you about this one personal. So I do group readings where I go to restaurants and I connect with people's loved ones. I share information, and I've been doing that for a long time, 8, 10 years. I did one recently, and as I drive home in the dark by myself, it's quite a long drive. It's about 45 minutes on the highway late at night. And all of a sudden, I got head to toe goosebumps, and I felt like there was a human in my back seat. And I literally was expecting, that whole imagery that you conjure up in your head. I was like, what the fuck? Somebody broke into my truck. And so I stopped myself from full on panic, and I was like, that's spirit. Had my guide step in, clear it, no more. Got home. Now, I do a lot of readings here on my property too, so I am constantly just putting energy around it. And as I pulled in, I have a gated driveway, and before I could go through the driveway, I was stopped dead in my tracks and heard, they're still here, we need to clear this. So my property boundary was working apparently. I didn't feel anything dark there when I was at the event. Nothing. I didn't have a sense that there was anything going to follow me home. I didn't get any, oh, this doesn't have the light. In fact, I always invite light in when I'm doing these. That was different for me. Any thoughts?
Yes. Probably followed you home because of curiosity,
Little stalker.
Yeah, a little stalker. And your own boundaries are like, nope, don't let this happen. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not sure, but it might even. I have this weird feeling. I don't know. I can't explain it, but that's how it works. That he's still out there lingering somewhere, not necessarily around your property, but just like wandering. Like,
Yeah.
where am I? What's going on here? What do I do with this?
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Usually I feel like a name or something, or I get a sense of who it is or what they are. I'm very clairvoyant, so I see their faces in my mind's eye. I didn't see them. It wasn't the same as if I'm doing a reading and I get somebody coming through my door, like, oh, it went. So I was like, what the fuck? What was that?
Oh yeah, I don't doubt it gets startling. It startles me sometimes. Like, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, like, get your ass out of my truck.
Yes.
What would you have done in that situation?
Laughed. No, seriously, laugh. If there's ever anything paranormal that makes you feel uncomfortable, you're uncertain about, have a good laugh.
Yeah, raises your vibration. Makes sense.
Exactly. Yeah. If it's something negative, it's not going to like that. It's going to go away. And if maybe we're just having a startle moment or we're misinterpreting it and we start to laugh, it'll open up the connection and we'll get a better, clearer understanding. So laughter. Always start with laughter.
Okay. Which is funny because I usually tell people, play happy music, do something that raises your vibration. But in the moment, I was like, am I going to get choked? What's happening?
Right.
It didn't touch me, just for the record. It didn't touch me. It was my senses that just went, something's different. Okay. Oh, yeah. Awesome. Can I ask someone in spirit to be my guide? I personally don't believe that's how it works. Do you want to talk about that?
Yes. I don't think you can do it specifically with somebody, but we all do have guides. I didn't want to believe this for a long time, but it's true. We all do have guides. They're all there. And our free will is absolutely respected by guides. And so if you don't want anything, they won't be there. But the moment you ask, you're like, hey, I need some clarity, I need some guidance, they're there. The biggest thing that we get people blocked on, though, is they're expecting that communication and the signs to be in a certain way.
Yes.
It would be great if we could have a sit-down conversation with a guy just like you and I are talking, but they don't talk that way. And people are expecting something like that instead of like the nudge, the push, the little synchronicities that happen that the guides are using as communication. But once you learn that method of communication, that it's really subtle. And I do say it's subtle. That if you
Yes.
aren't listening, you can't hear it because you're just going,
Yes.
what? And then you just say, oh, and it's like a nudge. It's like a little push. And it's not something dramatic or with a sense of urgency or consequence. And that's a thing that you want to check on. If you get information that is dramatic, it has a sense of consequence, a sense of urgency, say, no, thank you. Because again, your guides will never violate your free will. And they've got all the time in the universe because they don't exist in time like we do.
Yes.
And so they don't care if you get the information now or if you do it next lifetime. They're like, well, you'll get it anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but you have to reach out and ask.
Yes. And my experience with guides is we set those up prior to our incarnation, Nancy. So the soul, we do that on a soul level. It doesn't mean our ancestors can't assist us if there's something that we're working on in the family lineage, but the guides are from that. They stay behind the veil. Okay. This cracked me up. So Shannon, because I have helped her clear her house. So, and she has some moments where she gets scared. I'm like, just laugh, raise your face. Anyway, that was funny.
It takes practice. Sometimes if and this is valid to do, is again, that somatic response. And it can be a subconscious training that we're not necessarily aware of. So we get the feeling, we see something happen. Whoa, let's go run. So take some time outside of the house, like at work or in your car or something, and just go into a calm meditative state and touch on that joy, that laughter, the sense of joy, awe and wonder, sacred feeling, and then replay that scary moment in your mind. And you're going to feel scared at first, but then start to replace that moment, replay it over and over several times in your mind, that you're laughing, that you're going, wow, that was cool. What was that? Just play it over and over again, and do that a few times, not just like one time, but do it a few times. And then as you start to experience the stuff in real life, in real time, yes, the first few times may startle you, but you keep practicing, you keep doing this over, and you're programming the subconscious mind. Oh, now this happens. Wow, that was weird. Can you do it again?
Right.
And then you catch yourself. You're like, wow. And then you have a moment where you slip back. That's okay. Just keep doing the work. And then eventually you just get to the point where it's like, all right, that's interesting. Cool.
Yeah. That's what I think too. That's interesting. I have to ask you this. Have you ever had something scare the crap out of you?
That's a good question. Not since I was a kid.
Okay.
Not since I was a teenager. As I got older, and I purposely did some ritual work because I also do, I have a big background in the Norse tradition. I did some ritual work where I purposely would call in something not so nice without setting up any wards, without setting any protection, so I could experience it for what it really is and start to learn to trust my own inner work. And so that was scary the first few times. I had to shut that down. Like, I can't do this. But then I did it, and I finally got through it, and I got to the other side of fear. And I realized that was just me projecting fear. This thing, not necessarily. So it doesn't happen anymore.
Interesting. Do you imagine like you're in a cage when you do that so you can see it? Or are you just like, nope, not now. I just walk through that shit?
Nope. That was a good question. That came up on my Tuesday class real recently about shielding. Like, we can set a shield around us. We can absolutely do that. The downside to shielding is sometimes we can shield so hard nothing can come through at all, unless we eventually learn how to make it semi-permeable, that only certain things come through. But you want those abilities open. You want those things open. Like, say you're walking down the street and you get this weird gut feeling about somebody. Great. I want to move away from that. If your shield is up, you're not going to get that nudge. You're not going to get that impulse until it's too late. What I would rather you do is work on moving yourself to a higher state of being. Do your shadow work, clear that stuff out, move to a higher state of being, so you could still be aware of something not so good poking around, and you can say, no, go away. But as you're in that higher state, again, similarities attract and perpetuate. Those things can't get to you, but you'll still have your awareness. So shielding is good and necessary sometimes, but sometimes I think we use it way too much.
Yeah. I do use it. I use it for my clients. I teach them. I call it a spiritual condom. Like, literally call in light, especially if you're in a place where you think something's going to eat you, or you think there's a lot of dark stuff out there. Like, you can protect yourself. You don't. And also going out in public, dealing with the public right now is almost too much for most of us. So it helps you stay in your lane. Don't care about what they're doing. You just do what you need to do. So
Exactly. Yeah. If you're going into one of those places, absolutely. And again, that shield in public places, yes, sometimes it's helpful, but it can also shut us down,
yeah.
and then we start, and I'm speaking of this personally from my personal
Yeah.
experience. I'm an introvert. I'm a naturally shy person. But I love being on stage. I love being in front of people. I love teaching, but in public, I'm naturally shy. But if we put up that shield too much, we shut down, and then we aren't so sociable, and then we start feeding back to ourselves. See, I'm socially awkward. See, I can't do this. I can't talk
Yeah.
to people, and
I
then we
get
give
that.
ourselves proof of that, and then like so again, that shield used with caution.
Yeah. I love that. That's awesome. Okay. Uh, I have a couple of here. Like Crystal is saying she sees 34 all of the time, and if she doesn't see it for a day, what the heck? Did you leave me? So 34 has become something that makes you feel safe.
Yeah, synchronicities. Synchronicities is one of the tool guides we'll use for us. And I'll use the example of a clock. Maybe somebody's tuned into 34 or 11:11 or that sort of thing. The clock will be on at 34 and 11 a lot. 11:11 twice a day. But what caught your attention to make you look at the clock? What caught your attention to make you look at that license plate? What were you thinking? What were you doing? Pay attention to that, because that would be a guide going, yeah, pay attention to that. So
Yeah.
it's a pareidolia sort of thing. We are seeing these everywhere when we need them, but they're there all the time. That moment just kicks in. And I'm going to try to say that away. They're everywhere all the time. We're not seeing it until something kicks our mind to go, hey, look at that at this moment. And then
Yeah.
that's something to pay attention to.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. There was another one I saw. Now I can't find. Oh, this one. I thought this was a good one. If my grandmother had a major traumatic experience and didn't deal with it, can it be passed down to the younger generation until the traumatic experience is dealt with if the experience wasn't? Yeah, I think more of that kind of stuff happens than I don't necessarily believe in curses. I think we make those real. That's you. And if you interject, go right ahead. But I
Yeah.
think that we, in this situation, it's like a pattern that it's how we teach one another.
Yes. Those generational curses come in two flavors. Epigenetics. What, and the epigenetics is a valid science, and it is what determines what genes are turned on or off, or genetic expression. There it is. The genetic expression is
Yeah.
determined by our emotional response to the environment, not the environment, but our emotional response to that environment, whatever those conditions are. And so that will change our genes, and those genes will get passed down throughout the family. And every moment that we experience, this is the thing I want to really emphasize here, is a moment is just a moment. It's just information, no
Yeah.
matter what it is. But we ourselves have the ability to put meaning to that moment. And so we carry that meaning with us, and that will shape the way we believe, the way we think, the way we act, the way we speak. That turns into the way we treat others around us, especially our family. That comes into the family. And kids growing up think that's the way normal people act. That's what normal is. So they're going to act that way. They're going to believe that. They're going to feel that. They're going to carry that on. They're going to share that with their kids, not directly, but through their
Right.
words, through their actions, until that moment comes when they start to recognize, oh, there's a shadow pattern there, and it might not be theirs. One of my courses, I do ancestral soul wound healing. I teach that as like the last module is ancestral soul wound healing, so that you can do that shadow work across the line, so that you can heal yourself, heal the past, so that it's not carried forward.
Right. Yeah. Well, and we're in a phase right now too where all those traumas and all the things from our ancestors are coming to the surface, and we can't hide from the shit anymore. I
Nope.
mean, it's gonna you're gonna be drinking a lot if you are, and I personally don't drink or do drugs, and I kind of preach that just because of what I've learned through spirit. So How do you feel about that?
Absolutely. Like right now, interestingly enough, this is going to sound odd, but we are in the most peaceful and prosperous time in the entirety of human history.
More light.
Now, if you watch the news or social media, you're going to say, no, it's not true. But if you take a look at the actual numbers, the actual data, it's huge. The dramatic shift that's happened over the past few decades is huge. Yes, there's little ups and downs. People go, well, what about what's going on in Iran right now? And
Yeah.
yes, they're going to be little up and downs. What about mass shooting? Little up and downs, but the trend is downward by a dramatic part. And whenever we do that, shadows are going to pop up. And shadows don't happen just individually, they can happen collectively.
Collectively,
They will
yes.
pop out of the woodwork and we're like, what's going on? And it's just a shadow going, hi, I'm here. Can we do this work now? And it's not like that. It's not like a conversation here. It shows up and like, oh, we got to go get them before they get us.
Right.
Like, wait a minute. What threat are they really to us? You know, it's addressing that. It's like, well, this or that or that or this. Cool. That's the shadow. And it will happen collectively. And so we got to run with the collective work. But that's good because we're doing that work. We are doing that work, which is why that trend keeps going down. The violence, the poverty, the illness, all of those problems are going dramatically down because we are doing that work now.
Yeah. They say there's more light hitting our planet right now than ever before. People are saying, well, there's all this darkness now. No, it's actually, we're seeing the darkness because of the light.
Yes, exactly. The light casts shadows, right?
Yes.
So you got to look to the light, look at the shadows, and like,
look at the
you can't have the shadows without the light. That's the only way they work.
Yep. Here's a good one. How do we feel about certain keywords for our guides to use to warn us, to let us know when we're on the right path, or does that come from our guides?
You can set that. I absolutely will encourage you to set synchronicities. Like if you want to reach out to your guide, say, hey, will you show me 1111? Or, hey, will you show me a yellow car? Or, you know, something like that. And that means you got to pay attention. When the yellow car shows up, you're like, oh, thank you. I saw that. I noticed that. And that creates that feedback response. You noticing it, you aware of the information that you're getting and the gratitude for it, and then it will continue to happen. And you could set several of these cues, synchronicity cues, so that the guides can say, yep, here you go. One of my favorite is like when I stop the car after driving, the last note of the song plays as I pull in to stop. And if I'm rushing, the song continues on a little bit. If I'm a little bit behind, the song stops and a new song starts to start. So those are some timing synchronicities for me.
I love those. And let's see, sometimes feel heebie-jeebie, usually on my right side over my shoulder. Who could it be? How do I make contact to communicate with them? Well, that's masculine on the right side. So it's for me, spirit, if it's male, they usually show up on that right. When it's female, or if I'm talking to grandparents or aunts and uncles, they'll show up right or left, depending on what's either their mom's family or dad's. So I would pay attention to that. So the EBGBs is the goosebumps. Somebody's in my energy.
Yeah. That might be an intuitive hit too. One of the things that I try to teach people and have them understand is when you're receiving information in, you'll get an intuitive hit. For me, it's the goosebumps rising up the back. And I'll do that as a check-in. Like I'll get some information from guides or a spirit, especially if it's a spirit talking to me. And I'm like, is this true? Is this real? And then I'll get the goosebumps rising up the back. And I'm like, yes.
Yes,
information. Should I really say this out loud? Goosebumps come up. Yes.
Yes.
So that could be an intuitive hit.
Oh, I love that. So Amber, does that track? Feeling like a hit? That's the thing is that, like I said earlier, it's just like this web of it could be this, and you have to really learn to trust yourself.
Absolutely.
Okay. Oh, okay. I think did I get them all? And Jessica says Rochelle said the courses sound amazing, right? I shared his website. Let me share it one more time. He shares a lot of stuff on his Facebook page too, you guys.
Yeah, definitely. Feel free to visit my website. Unfortunately,
Yep, I know. You got to go. You got to go.
But
You stayed longer. Thank you.
visit my website because you'll get my free ebook there, Coexisting with the Paranormal. I talk about the 10 rules of paranormal existence, so 3 ways of protecting, or 5 ways to protect yourself, and 3 ways of communication. I'll help you better understand that. And that's a great place to start. It's free. Just, give me your email, do that. And then if you go to my website, you'll also see the Paranormal Art School and the Shadow School, where I've got a bunch of online courses that teach you developing your paranormal abilities, teaching you shadow work. Plus, I do one-on-one mentorship. So if you want to work one-on-one, you'll follow the link on my website there, and we could set a time to talk and find out how we can work together and how I can help guide you and teach you. Because that is my purpose in this life, is to teach this stuff.
Sorry, I got kicked out. I think I'm coming back on.
I can hear you.
Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Not yet. You're frozen, but I can hear you.
Okay. Well, I guess everything just went blank. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It was a lot of fun.
Absolutely was. I enjoyed this a lot.
Oh, yay. I'm going to go. I'm going to end the live, and then I'll chat real fast. I know you're in a hurry, so let me. Ladies, and thank you, gentlemen. Oh, my screen's going black. Okay, I'm going to end it. Okay.
Awesome.